Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Saturday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, I came across a news story today. It's about popcorn buckets, and it reminded me about two very specific, non-related things. This is going to be one of those videos. I make this video, but I'm not sure. I'm telling myself, well, I might not download it. This is one of the videos where I am brutally honest. And when I make videos like this, like later in the day, like tonight, I'll be reading or I'll fall asleep and I'll wake up and I'll remember I made this video. I'll hear the notifications coming in, people commenting, and all of a sudden I'll remember what I talked about and I'll be like, oh my God, I'll get like a panic. Like, oh my God, I gotta delete that. Because sometimes I am just brutally honest in these videos. Most of the times, all the time, I'm brutally honest about some specific things. The best thing though, when I make videos like this just happened recently, yesterday I think it was, but yesterday's video, I talk about things that I went through in addiction and in recovery, and the best thing is when other people thank me for it or say they went through similar things or thank you for having the courage to talk about this. And I always get those comments, and that right there makes videos like this worthwhile. Gets me the courage to actually talk about stuff like this and download it. Okay, what am I talking about? I'm talking about popcorn buckets. Okay, I got a question here because I didn't research this. DUNE 2. I saw this movie. There's DUNE 1. It had Sting in it, didn't it? It was from back in like 84. Never saw that. It was like a 3-hour science. I love science fiction. It's like a 3-hour movie. DUNE, the movie D-U-N-E. And I didn't see that one, but DUNE 2 I loved. It came out in 2021, and it was a great science fiction movie. Now, all over the internet, there's these popcorn buckets, because the way I think I understand this must have been, during the pandemic, and the movie was probably released on video, and I already saw it. But now it's coming to theaters, and because it's coming to theaters, I think they're putting out these very specific looking popcorn buckets that are supposed to look like the mouth of the giant sandworms in these movies. And this is trending. It's viral all over the internet right now. And people are saying what they think it looks like, because a lot of people think it looks absolutely insane and ridiculous and non-functional. Okay, I'm going to use a picture, like now that I've talked about that, if one of you guys can tell me, is that theory right? Is this the actual movie from 2021 just making it into the theaters now? Let me know in the comments. Okay, let's get onto these popcorn buckets. Two very specific things came to mind when I saw these popcorn buckets. People have compared them to female parts. All right, that's going to be the first part of this video. The second part of this video, I'm going to talk about the second thing that this reminded me of. And I'm going to talk about things I did during addiction. And the reason I could talk about this is because I've been clean and sober since October 23rd of 2006 for over 17 years. And after 17 years, I look back at the stuff I did when I was in addiction. And I realize, I see the psychology behind it, and I could talk about it now because I realize it wasn't who I was. I haven't even had the urge to go to these places and do these things that I used to do for the last 17 years. It's not like I even tried to stop doing some of the things I'm going to talk about. It's just that once I stopped using and I kind of realized what the psychology behind what I was doing, the urge to do it disappeared. All right, let me be more specific. Okay, these popcorn buckets. The first thing, it's like I said, it's supposed to look like the mouth of the worm. All right, so it's rounded. It's a plastic top that goes on top of the popcorn bucket, and it looks like the sand. And then it's supposed to be the worm, the top of the worm coming up out of the sand. It's all just a plastic molded piece, and the mouth of the worm has these inward teeth all around a circular opening. That's supposed to be from the movie. Okay, now this is another thing I don't understand. People all over the internet have compared this to female parts, and the first thing came to mind is the right wing pundit, the right wing podcast person, Nick Fuentes, and his misogyny and his dislike of women. This is, I have to ask myself, have these people, the people that are comparing this to this body part, have they never been up close and personal with this body part? Because it does not look anything like this. You know, the shape, the teeth, you know. So this is the first time I actually heard of this. It's called V and the word dentata. I'll have the link down below. Dentata. I think it's called dentata. It's an actual phobia that some men have, mostly in adolescence, which relates to Nick Fuentes, of castration and emasculation. I never heard of this. This is something I never, like I said, looking at this bucket, that's the last thing that would come to mind, is any body part would ever come to mind here. So that's the first thing that came to mind. I was going to make some jokes about right wing, you know, it's these right wing men are probably going to go out and buy these popcorn buckets in you know, in the dozens, because it relates to their phobia. You know, they've never actually been up close and personal with one of these body parts, and it in their mind it solidifies their idea of, you know, bad women. Okay, that's that first part of the. This is the second part of the video now. Like I said, since I've been clean and sober since October 23rd of 2006, I've had cravings for the drugs, but I've never set foot back in an adult store, adult material. And I used to have a that was part of my life. It was like the addiction has so much isolation in it that was almost, you know, there's no normal relationships. If you have a relationship, it's usually with another addict, and that is a messed up relationship lots of times in themselves, where the whole relationship circles around the use of drugs and getting drugs. But with me, it was like a fantasy world where the drugs were with adult materials. You know, that was my release. That was my relationship, as sad as that sounds. Like I said, and the reason I'm talking about this is because, you know, since I've been clean and sober, I've been in completely 2 very long-term with relationships with great women. And, you know, I realized that wasn't, I look back and I could see why I did this stuff. And I realized that there's a lot of other people that were doing the same kind of stuff. Because in these establishments, I remember seeing people I went to high school with. I remember seeing my friends' fathers, like, cruising in these back rooms. I used to frequent these establishments where they would have these arcades in the back, and they'd have these things called glory holes, the holes in the walls. Like I said, if you told me back 20 years ago when I was using that, I'd be sitting in front of a camera talking about this right now, I would freak out. I would panic, you know, because that was my big secret back then. And I'm a straight guy. But this was part of the whole addiction that I had. Not to mention, too, that something happened to me when I was younger, young boy, and with the man that was dating my mother for several years. And I look back now and I could see I was kind of acting out. You know, it was some kind of power thing, you know, that had something to do with it, too. I'll get to that in a second. But when I looked at this popcorn bucket, I remember, like I said, not only did I frequent these establishments, but I also drove a truck. I was a Teamster truck driver, and we delivered magazines and books, paperback books. And one of my jobs several times a week was delivering adult magazines. And I would go into these stores, and I would bring the books, the bundles of books, magazines, into the back room, and I would have to go through these backroom arcades where these glory holes were and everything. And not only that, but then I would frequent them in my off hours. And it was part of my, like I said, it was like a release for me. I think some of it had to do, too, with what happened to me it was like a power thing. And I would go into these booths, you know, when I'd be all buzzed or high or whatever. And I'd put in a straight video. And I can't believe I'm talking about this, but I would use that hole. And I would just picture I'd watched the movie, and in my mind, it was a woman on the other side of that piece of wood. And, you know, I could tell you guys this. I can't believe I'm saying this. But I remember specifically, like, you know, feeling facial hair. And I know what facial hair feels like. And it's that was definitely that definitely ruined the whole whatever I was trying to accomplish back then. Because like I said, I'd watched this straight movie, and in my mind, you know, this was happening with a woman. It was, you know, I was convincing like I said, it was looking back at this, it was a drug-induced fantasy, and it was acting out on some of the stuff that happened to me when I was younger, and I could see that now. And I know that there's a lot of, especially guys out there that have these cross addictions with acting out sexually with materials or stuff like this, in addiction, especially with like methamphetamine and coke. As a matter of fact, I talk about this on my other channel, Staying Clean. I think my latest video, I talk really specifically about this because that channel's not monetized. And this is one, you know, to the popcorn. You're asking me, how does this connect to the popcorn buckets? This was one of the fears that I had back when I used to, you know, like I said, I'd sneak in there. I never took, no, none of my friends or family or anybody knew that I would use, and then I would go down to these establishments and go in a booth and use one of these holes. And I used to have this fear that on the other side of that wall, that somebody would have like a, would have made one of these, something similar to the top of the popcorn bucket, and they'd slip it over me, and I'd be trapped up against the wall, like, where you could slide yourself in, but the teeth would lock on. You know, like the thing that came to me, I can't believe like I said, I can't believe I'm talking about this, but this was the fear I had back then, that maybe it was like the bottom of a, you know, like a big soda bottle, and if you cut off the bottom and made teeth out of it, I can't believe, you know, I can't believe this is something I used to deal with and subject myself to almost on a daily basis back when I was using. And here's the best part of this video, though, is like I said, for the last 17 years, it was hard for me. There was a lot of cravings with quitting the drugs. But as far as this cross addiction to the adult materials and the way I was acting out in these movie theaters and these adult establishments, that just disappeared with the drug use, with the ending of the drug use over the last 17 years. It's not even something that I kept, you know, it's not like I told myself I will not go to these establishments. It just disappeared, you know. And now I could talk about it because I realized that wasn't who I was. You know, that was a messed up version of me. And I could see how messed up it was now, and I could start to understand the reasons why I did stuff like this. So this is the good part, like I said, of the video. For people, if you're watching this and you know somebody or you've experienced this yourself, a lot of times it's guys that do this and they'll never admit to it. I would have sooner died than admit to the stuff I'm telling you guys right now, back when I was using. But like I said, you know, I know this isn't who I was. And over the last 17 years, it's given me comfort knowing, you know, that wasn't me. You know, that was me trying to have some kind of release and relationship in the isolation of addiction. Plus, I was, like I said, I think I was acting out. It was like a power trip with being serviced in these establishments with the people that, similar to the people that used to take advantage of me when I was younger. I think that sums it up. All right, let's see. I think I'm coming up on 14 minutes now. I'll talk more about this, but that's what these popcorn buckets reminded me of. A phobia of what I feared was on the other side of a wall in these booths in the back rooms of adult bookstores back when I was using. Like I said, a recovery is possible. I've been clean and sober since October 23rd of 2006. It's a great life. It's the best life. I could have never imagined my life would be so fulfilling, so full of happiness. And every day I wake up and I'm thankful and I'm happy. Even on bad days, even on the worst days, I'm happy. Because all I got to do is think back to an average day back then when I was using, and the hell that I would wake up into every single day. And I am thankful today. Every day is a great day now. I've been given a second chance. Recovery is possible. All right, I'll be back later with another video. You guys have a good Saturday.